Steam reviews hit hard just after X4 Timelines released together with patch 7.0. There are some complaints I can agree with, but the true pros and cons of the new DLC are a little bit more delicate, and also may differ severely based on your taste and what you expected. I'll try to be as spoiler-free as possible. Timelines comes with a brilliant soundtrack, a new faction, and a series of missions, embedded within a brief storyline about a secret facility and its inhabitants. These missions are played outside of the open universe and are grouped into several chapters called graphs. Among other settings, they let you take part in historical events of the X universe veterans of the series may have experienced 20 years ago on ancient hardware in potato fidelity graphics. Other events are a complete novelty and have only been mentioned before in novels or other pieces of lore. Playing through these missions unlocks some unique ships in the open universe and introduces a new faction with their own systems once you beat the whole DLC. In total, 7 new systems are added. The most noteworthy ships are the TER Odachi Corvette, it's like a more nimble katana with less shields but heavier hull, the Cutlass fighter, and the L-class Sapporo Destroyer. It comes with no main battery but a bunch of electromagnetic cannons. Timelines also gets integrated into the base game for free, the price stays the same, which means new players get more content for the same money. All of this is separate from the patch version 7.0, which is free for everyone owning the base game. The recommended game starts for new players are now marked with a star. A radial menu was added, which especially is helpful if you're using a stick or a controller. Another 7 systems to explore are also included in the free update, which makes a total of 14 if you own the DLC. They look quite spectacular judging from what I've explored so far. The overhauled external camera mode feels and plays a lot better now as the camera adapts to your movements. We also got some new capital ship models for the Teladi, like the vastly improved Phoenix Destroyer, which looks a lot better now. Their cargo ships received an overhaul too, like the Huron E you can see here. The same goes for the enhanced version of the Argon Behemoth Destroyer, which visually improved tremendously. Interface colors are customizable now too, within the colorblind options menu. We also got enhanced game performance, better tutorials, new landmarks to explore within the existing universe, and improved ship AI. That's a lot of stuff added. So why are some people upset? There are 2 main reasons in my opinion. The first one is less important, but nevertheless a major problem. It's hard to properly communicate what Timelines offers to the player. You can't clearly say 7 more sectors, because 3 of them and the new faction are locked behind completing the Timelines missions. Past DLCs had an easier time. They contained a new faction and their respective ships, together with some new storylines. Timelines also adds new ships, but some of them can only be found drifting somewhere, some of them can be bought, and some of them have limited outfit options. It's all a bit obscure. That makes people, including me at the beginning, mix up what is free in 7.0 and what is contained in Timelines. That's really bad for marketing purposes. But here's the biggest problem the DLC has. Judging from my perception, it under-delivered on its main promise. A deep dive into the history of the X universe. We would relive, they told us, pivotal situations that happened within the lore of the series. Well, yes, there are missions providing that, but they lack context and complexity. I've imagined every one of them would contain some deeper storytelling, cutscenes, and maybe a narrator giving insights on what is happening. I've been playing the X series since the very first game, and even I had a hard time remembering some of the events taking place within the Timelines mission chain. If you perceive the DLC as an extended tutorial, things get even worse. New players will have an even harder time finding out what exactly they are doing right now or what they are supposed to do. The mission descriptions aren't helping with that because they mainly cryptically say things like, for example, the Argon have a conflict with the Paranet and that some individual made a difference here. These vague explanations mostly are accompanied by a few incomprehensible time indications without any context, and that's it. Now go shoot these ships. I personally suffered through most of the tasks, since especially the first 10 or 12 missions often reduce themselves to fight these ships and survive. And don't get me started about the races. One would have been okay, but each of the first 3 graphs starts with a race around a space station, which I found not a bit exciting but just tedious to complete. Navigating tunnels in a spacesuit also isn't the series' biggest strength. But here we go, racing through a space station or defusing bombs. Another mission lets you encounter ships from the first X game. But the nostalgic emotional hit isn't enough to cover the fact you're fighting the same wave of ships over and over again until a timer runs out. Another mission just says, mine as fast as you can. That's just a simple task, not a scenario or even a deep dive into the X lore. At least you only have to attempt each mission once and are still allowed to move on to the next one, regardless of how poorly you performed. Don't get me wrong, some of them are quite nice to play, like the mission where you are tasked with evacuating people from a station. Others could have been saved by stronger narration and more context. I personally wouldn't care so much about the missions being oversimplified if they'd at least deliver a fully voiced, decently told, interesting tale about the context of everything that's happening. The lore is there, the execution just isn't on point. Now, how good is the background story stringing the missions together, which results in a new faction arriving in the open universe? It's okay. There are 1 or 2 nice twists, which I didn't see coming, but all in all, it's moving too slow with too little happening. Searching all the lockers on the whole station as part of a quest also wasn't something I'd remember as particularly fun. In the end, Timelines offers a bit of everything. This might work for some new players who want to try out trading, fighting and mining within a safe space. And since the DLC is included in the base game without any extra charge, that's probably its intended purpose. For experienced players, it provides too little. With more work, the missions could have been an interesting addition even for veterans of the series. But in their current state, most of them just can't cut it. Timelines is salvageable though. By optimizing the missions, adding context, more conversations, cutscenes and narration, it could possibly grow into what a DLC should have been from the start. Would I play full price? Only as a hardcore fan to support EgoSoft fund further development of the game. Otherwise I'd get it on sale just for the new ships and sectors. $10 would be okay in my books. For a list of new sectors and ships, check out the description. If you're new to X4, here's my beginner's guide, which has been watched over 200,000 times already and will get you ready for the open universe in no time. Thanks for watching and see you there.